Well, come back. You hear that noise? That panic behind the fake smiles, behind the closed doors, behind the people pretending you don't exist while secretly watching every move you make. Funny, isn't it? The moment you stop begging for attention, they start fighting for control over you. One side wants to silence you. The other side wants to use you. And somewhere in the middle, you're just standing there realizing the whole world suddenly changed its tone when your fear disappeared. Planned. They laughed when you were broken. They ignored you when you stayed quiet. But the second you stopped needing their approval, chaos started spreading like smoke through every room you walked into. Now they whisper your name like it's a warning label, like you're some kind of accident they created by pushing too hard for too long. Mamid. You ever notice how people become terrified when someone refuses to play the role they assigned them? That's what this is really about, not power, not revenge, control. Because the moment you stopped acting predictable, you became dangerous. Not dangerous because you scream louder than everyone else. Dangerous because you finally learned how to smile while everything burns around you. And now they're turning against each other, trying to figure you out. Some call you a leader. Some call you a threat. Some call you insane, because that's easier than admitting you saw the truth before they did. They built a world held together with lies, distractions, fake loyalty, plastic dreams. And somehow you walked straight through it, laughing at the whole performance. That's why they can't ignore you anymore. Leaned, you became the proof that fear stops working. Once a person has nothing left to lose, they always act surprised when the quiet one finally snaps. Like it came out of nowhere. Like monsters just fall from the sky one random night, wearing scars and smiles. But nobody ever asks who built the monster. Nobody wants to talk about the long nights, the humiliation, the betrayal, the laughter in crowded rooms when you were barely holding yourself together. They only notice the transformation after the damage is already done. That's the funny part about people. They'll spend years pushing someone toward the edge, then panic the moment that person learns how to fly instead of fall. Then you remember how they used to look at you, don't you? Like you were weak, replaceable, a joke. Every fake friend, every conversation where they smiled in your face, while secretly hoping you'd stay small forever. They needed you broken because your pain made them comfortable. A wounded person asks for permission. A wounded person obeys. A wounded person stays predictable. But pain changes shape after a while. At first it hurts. Then it hardens. Then one day it becomes entertainment. That's when they should have been afraid. Because once somebody starts laughing at the pain instead of running from it, control disappears, fear disappears, shame disappears. And suddenly, the person they thought they understood becomes impossible to manage. You stopped reacting the way they expected. You stopped begging people to stay. You stopped explaining yourself. That confused them more than anger ever could. People can handle rage. Rage is simple. Rage burns fast. But calm chaos? That terrifies them. A person smiling while their entire world collapses? That creates panic. Now look at them, watching you, studying you, whispering about you, like you're some urban legend walking through real life. They can't figure out when the change happened. Was it after the betrayal? After the loneliness? After the 100th disappointment? Truth is, it happened slowly, piece by piece. Every betrayal carved something new into you. Every lie stripped away another layer of innocence. Every person who underestimated you helped create the version standing here now. Yeah, and the sickest part, most of them still think they're innocent. They still think words don't leave scars. They still think humiliation disappears overnight. They still think people can be treated like garbage forever without consequences. Society teaches people to laugh at broken souls until those broken souls stop caring about the rules. Then suddenly, everybody acts shocked when chaos walks into the room wearing confidence instead of fear. And you weren't born dangerous. You were trained by disappointment, trained by rejection, trained by a world that rewards fake people and punishes honesty. Every time they mocked your dreams, ignored your pain, abandoned you when you needed them most, they added fuel to something they didn't understand. Something growing quietly behind your silence. Mings. Now the same people who created your darkness are terrified by your glow because you adapted, that you became comfortable in places that destroy other people. Loneliness stopped hurting, pressure stopped affecting you. Judgment became background noise. And once someone reaches that point, they become unpredictable, untouchable, free. That's what scares them the most. Tedious. Not your anger, your freedom. Silence scares people more than screaming ever will. You notice that? The loud ones never really frighten anybody. People know how to deal with noise. They argue with it, mock it, ignore it. But silence makes people nervous because it leaves room for imagination. And imagination is where fear grows teeth. Leaned. That's why they became uncomfortable. The moment you stopped explaining yourself, you used to defend every action, every emotion, every dream. You used to waste energy trying to make people understand your intentions, trying to prove your loyalty, trying to convince the world you weren't the villain they wanted you to be. But after enough betrayal, something changed. You realized people hear what benefits them. They twist kindness into weakness, patience into submission, silence into defeat. So you stopped talking, and suddenly everybody panicked. Funny how that works. When you were begging to be heard, nobody listened. But the second you became quiet, they started analyzing every movement like it meant something dangerous. Every stare became suspicious. Every absence became a mystery. Every smile looked like a hidden threat. Because people fear what they can't predict. And nothing becomes more unpredictable than a person who no longer feels the need to announce their pain. Lemmed silence changes a person. It gives you time to watch, time to notice patterns, time to see how fake people become when they think you aren't paying attention. You start noticing the nervous laughter, the forced loyalty, the hidden competition hiding inside compliments, the way people secretly enjoy watching others fail because it distracts them from their own miserable lives. Plumbed. That's the thing about staying quiet for too long. Eventually, you hear everything. Plumbed. You hear the lies hidden behind friendly words. You hear the insecurity buried inside arrogance. You hear the fear inside the voices of people pretending they're powerful. And once you hear the truth clearly enough, you stop reacting emotionally to nonsense. That calmness alone terrifies people because they mistake emotional control for emotional emptiness. They think you stopped feeling. No, you just stopped performing. You stopped giving free access to your emotions. You stopped letting random people touch your mind with their opinions. And now they don't know where they stand with you anymore. That uncertainty eats at them. Human beings are addicted to labels. Friend, enemy, weak, strong, safe, dangerous. But silence destroys labels because it creates distance. And distance forces people to confront their own assumptions. Venge. Now they project their fears onto you. Some think you're plotting revenge. Others think you've lost your mind. Some secretly admire you while pretending to hate you publicly. Because deep down they know silence requires strength, real strength, not fake confidence, screaming. Real control comes from knowing you don't owe the world an explanation every second of your existence. Alarmed, that kind of silence changes energy in a room. You walk differently, look at people differently. You stop chasing approval because you finally understand most people don't even approve of themselves. And once you stop needing validation, your presence starts feeling dangerous to insecure people. They become desperate to provoke you into reacting because your calmness reminds them how chaotic they really are inside. Blamed it, now every room goes quiet when you enter it. Not because you said something, because they know you don't need to. The world loves obedience dressed up as success. That's the secret nobody says out loud. They tell you to dream big, stand out, be yourself. But the second you actually do it, the whole system starts shaking like an old building during an earthquake. Because people don't really want freedom. They want controlled rebellion, safe rebellion. The kind that looks dangerous but still follows all the rules. You stopped doing that. And now everybody's uncomfortable. Wronged. You can see it in their faces when you refuse to panic the way they panic. When you stop chasing trends. When you stop begging strangers for approval. When you stop apologizing for existing too loudly. Society depends on predictable people. Wake up, work, consume, repeat. Smile while dying inside. Pretend exhaustion is ambition. Pretend anxiety is productivity. Pretend fake happiness is normal. Then you walked away from the script. That's when the fear started to lend, because nothing terrifies people more than someone who realizes the game is rigged and still chooses not to kneel. You stopped reacting to pressure the way they expected. Fear tactics stopped working. Shame stopped working. Isolation stopped working. And once a person becomes immune to manipulation, they become impossible to control. That's why they call independent people crazy. Bendia. Not because they're insane. Because they can't be programmed anymore. Lenda. The world doesn't know what to do with someone who isn't desperate for acceptance. Every system is built around emotional dependency. Schools train obedience. Jobs reward conformity. Social circles punish originality. Even friendships become contracts built around silent expectations. Stay the same. Stay harmless. Stay understandable. But you changed. And people hate change when they can't benefit from it. Suddenly, they started questioning your attitude, your energy, your silence, your confidence. Funny how people never complain when you're weak. They only become uncomfortable when you start realizing your worth. The moment you stop allowing disrespect, they call you arrogant. The moment you protect your peace, they call you distant. The moment you stop entertaining fake behavior, they call you cold, because your boundaries expose their chaos. You became a mirror people didn't want to look into. That's why rooms feel strange when you enter now. People sense the difference, even if they can't explain it. You stopped carrying desperation in your eyes. You stopped trying to fit inside places too small for your mind. And once somebody loses the fear of rejection, society loses one of its strongest weapons. Now people don't know how to approach you anymore. Some admire you secretly. Others resent you openly. But almost everyone, because deep down they recognize something rare in a world addicted to performance: authenticity without permission. You became living proof that peace doesn't come from obeying the crowd. It comes from surviving without needing their applause. And that realization spreads like poison through fake environments. The obedient become nervous around free thinkers because freedom is contagious. One person refusing to bow down makes others question why they've been crawling their whole lives. That's dangerous for a world built on fear. Dangerous for people whose identities depend on approval. Dangerous for systems that survive by convincing individuals they're powerless alone. But you discovered something they hoped you'd never learn. Most cages don't have locks. Just conditioned minds too afraid to leave. Fear is the leash they use on everybody. You see it everywhere once you stop pretending. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of judgment, fear of losing money, status, relationships, fake respect from fake people. The entire world spins on fear like a crooked carnival ride. Nobody knows how to escape. That's why most people stay trapped in lives they secretly hate. Fear makes prisoners look obedient. But something strange happens when a person reaches their breaking point enough times. Fear starts dying, not all at once. Slowly, quietly, like a fire running out of oxygen. One disappointment kills a little piece of it. One betrayal kills another. One lonely night staring at the ceiling, wondering why you even trusted people in the first place. It kills even more, until eventually you wake up one morning and realize the things that once controlled you don't have power anymore. That's where chaos begins, not the cheap kind people post online for attention. Real chaos, the kind that starts inside a person who no longer fears consequences the same way ordinary people do. Because fear is what keeps society predictable. Fear keeps people polite while they suffer. Fear keeps people silent while they're disrespected. Fear keeps people chasing approval from individuals who don't even respect themselves. You stopped fearing the loss, and suddenly you became dangerous. Now people can't read you anymore. They expect panic and get calmness instead. They expect emotional breakdowns and get laughter instead. That confuses them because fear-based people only understand fear-based behavior. When somebody steps outside that system, it feels unnatural, threatening, almost unreal. Penned. You ever notice how calm people scare crowds more than angry people? Because calmness during destruction suggests acceptance. And acceptance during destruction means someone has already made peace with losing everything. Once a person reaches that level mentally, manipulation stops working. You can't threaten someone who already survived their worst nightmares in silence. You can't control someone who stopped attaching their identity to things that disappear. That's why your energy changed. You stopped chasing certainty because life already proved certainty is an illusion. Jobs disappear. Relationships collapse. Loyalty fades. Promises rot. The future people obsess over can shatter overnight from one phone call, one betrayal, one moment of bad luck. Most people spend their lives terrified of chaos because they think stability is permanent. You learn better. Chaos is permanent, and instead of running from it, you adapted to it. That adaptation transformed you into something people don't understand. You're differently now. You disaster doesn't shock you anymore because disappointment trained your nervous system to survive instability. While everyone else panics during uncertainty, you become sharper, clearer, almost alive. That unsettles people. Because most humans build identities around comfort. Routine becomes religion. Safety becomes personality. Then someone like you appears, someone who can smile inside destruction, and suddenly their illusion of control starts cracking. They realize strength doesn't come from avoiding chaos. It comes from surviving it long enough to stop fearing it. Then now they look at you like you belong to the storm itself. Maybe that's because you do. Plend. Not because you enjoy pain, because pain stopped owning you. They don't hate you because you failed. People are comfortable around failure. Failure makes them feel safe, predictable, superior. What terrifies them is influence, presence. The strange shift in energy that happens when a person stops chasing validation and suddenly starts pulling attention without trying. That's when the fight begins, because now everybody wants a piece of you. Some want your loyalty. Some want your silence. Some want your mind. Some want your downfall just to prove to themselves you were never special in the first place. And the craziest part? Most of them don't even realize they're competing over you. Human beings are possessive creatures. The moment someone becomes valuable emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or socially, people start fighting for control like starving animals around scraps. You've seen it happen. The fake concern, the random check-ins from people who disappeared when you were struggling, the sudden respect from people who once ignored your existence. Funny how your value increased the second you stopped making yourself available to everybody. Scarcity creates obsession, and now your energy feels scarce because you no longer hand it out freely. That bothers people, especially the ones who thought they owned access to you forever. They miss the old version of you, the easier version, the softer version that tolerated disrespect just to avoid conflict. That version was controllable, predictable, safe. But now there's distance behind your eyes, calmness in your voice. You think before reacting. You walk away instead of begging people to stay. That shift drives people insane because control depends on emotional access. If someone can trigger your insecurity, they can guide your behavior. If someone can manipulate your fear, they can shape your decisions. That's how most relationships work in this world. Silent psychological transactions disguised as love, friendship, loyalty, leadership. Heck, then you broke the pattern. Now people don't know what works on you anymore. Guilt stopped working. Approval stopped working. Rejection stopped working. Even praise feels different now because you can hear manipulation hiding inside compliments. That awareness changes everything. Suddenly, every interaction feels like a chess match. Nobody admits they're playing. And once people lose control over you, they start fighting each other instead. One person tells you to stay humble. Another tells you to dominate. One side wants your attention. Another wants your silence. One group wants to shape your identity into something useful for them. Another wants to destroy your confidence before you become impossible to contain, because powerful people attract conflict naturally. Not fake power, not social media noise, real internal power, the kind built from surviving pressure without losing your mind. That energy disrupts insecure environments. Weak people become threatened by it. Broken people become obsessed with it. Lost people become drawn toward it, hoping some of your certainty rubs off on them. Now you've become the center of silent wars. you never asked for. People project their ambitions onto you, their fears onto you, their frustrations onto you. Some want to stand beside you because they think your rise will elevate them. Others want to tear you apart because your existence reminds them how much potential they wasted pretending to be comfortable. That's why every room feels tense now, not because you changed the world overnight. Because people finally realized they can't control where you're headed anymore. The illusion was never built to survive someone like you. That's why everything started cracking the moment you stopped pretending. People spend their entire lives protecting illusions because reality is too uncomfortable to face directly. Fake confidence, fake friendships, fake happiness. Everybody performing for each other like actors trapped inside a collapsing theater while the building burns quietly behind the curtains. Okay? And for a long time, you played along too. You smiled when you were exhausted, trusted people who secretly envied you, stayed loyal to individuals who treated loyalty like weakness. You kept shrinking yourself just to make insecure people feel taller. That's how the illusion survives, through silence, compromise, emotional self-destruction disguised as maturity. Then one day, something inside you snapped. Not loudly, quietly, the dangerous kind of quiet. And you started noticing how fake everything felt. Conversations sounded scripted. Relationships felt transactional. Motivation speeches sounded like bedtime stories for people terrified of confronting reality. Everybody screaming about success while spiritually collapsing behind closed doors. Everybody preaching positivity while carrying bitterness like poison in their chest. And suddenly you couldn't unsee it anymore. That's the problem with awakening once it happens. The illusion never fully works again. You start seeing fear hidden inside confidence, desperation hidden inside arrogance, loneliness hidden inside popularity. Most people aren't living. They're distracting themselves from the emptiness long enough to avoid thinking too deeply. But you thought deeply, too deeply. That's what separated you from the crowd. While everybody else kept chasing comfort, you started chasing truth. And truth destroys illusions faster than violence ever could. Because violence creates enemies, truth creates collapse. The moment people realize their fake identities can't control you anymore, panic spreads instantly. Suddenly, the masks start slipping. The manipulation becomes obvious. The hidden agendas become visible. Now people feel exposed around you, not because you say much, okay? Because your presence forces honesty out of hiding. That's why weak people become defensive near individuals who survived suffering honestly. You can't lie comfortably around someone who already faced their darkness directly. Your existence reminds them they've spent years running from themselves. And nothing creates resentment faster than witnessing somebody else break free from a prison you still secretly live inside. Your rise shattered their comfort because they expected pain to destroy you. Instead, it revealed you. That changed the entire dynamic. Now, every insult they once used against you feels meaningless. Every rejection became fuel. Every betrayal became education. They tried to bury your confidence under humiliation, but pressure created something colder, sharper, more aware. Now they watch you differently, like you escaped something they still can't name.